But where to transform is what the first biggest, the most obvious challenge that they have.
So yes, times have changed quite a lot. Maybe you can share with us without naming, of course, specific customer engagement, but how does then SAP Signavio address for your customer engagements in the projects? What is the value they can really then derive from a, let's say, a different approach?
Yeah. So basically, right. So I mean, personal opinion, right? Um, so what the way we see SAP Signavio, right? Um, so first thing is basically to transform. We need to have a platform, and we don't want customer to be from a customer point of view, right? So they don't they understand that transformation is necessary, right? And the why part is why transformation is very clear. So everybody understands that, and it is to the point. But where to transform is what the first because the most obvious challenge that they have. And being in the enterprise, like what I always try to understand is that the way technology comes in the as a second shift, right? Before that, it is about how I convince my management or my leadership to invest on this particular technology. It's pivotal, right? So if you look at it in that dimension, so what is necessary is that how do I convince my leadership with what facts that I can say that I can bring in this transformation and highlighting the key pain points, and then what is my response mechanism, and what is the how I build the confidence. Where is that crux? Basically, that's all the point is basically. Why is important for leadership to ask that kind of an question is because if I have and I wanted to invest $100 million, let's say for example, right? So where I invest my $100 million, it matters to me because if I don't get the right returns, then or basically first thing is that if I don't invest, I'm not going to get anything. So I have to invest it. But where I'm consciously investing, understanding the ROI really helps organization to plan for in the future, right? So in that perspective, if I get my investment and if I don't produce the output, okay, neither not use my investment nor produce the output, it has had the same impact because I lose the opportunity of getting somewhere else I can invest it and then get the returns much better, right? So it is imperative to for from an IT perspective to convince business and the leadership team to say that which area is pivotal for me to invest and why. And followed by from a technology angle, if I have understood that what pain areas my business is having in terms of, let's say, for example, customer experience or in terms of operational challenges that they have, we can point it at everything line by line and then go after basically which technology fits in the right bill, whether automation, process modeling, or mining would be the solution for it, or chatbot needs to be brought in. We can just do that fitment, right? So that is how typically it goes, and that is where one thing is basically which one will go after. We have to pick our own pill, known devil, right? Which one to produce. So that is the one space I found that Signavio as a whole, basically, it is not narrowed problem. Like for example, it is not looking at just process mining alone, but it has wide options. For a skilled person, if you give the right tools, you know how to build it. So to me, basically, Signavio is the platform that has all the components and wisely thought through in a long term. Okay, for a transformation, process transformation, what component is required? We have it, and it's much more easy and not making it complicated, too clumsy. From everything is looking pretty straightforward. And post SAP's integration, I couldn't even like I had to definitely tell that it has a lot of synergy. It's a perfect marriage, and it is meaningful, and it is going to really help customers who are especially either ERP centric or SCM or EWM. So they don't have, as of before, they have to plug and play either Signavio or any other product that they want. Like for example, for modeling in the enterprise world, we mostly use Alice. Alice have a pretty decent market share, right? And they can go with the choice of choosing the best one to integrate it with their ERP or those SCM systems and try to take the benefit out of it. Or they can go with one modeled approach, like unison environment, where they have everything in one place. And so that way, basically what happens, the maintenance cost, support, and also like bringing in new talents, communities, in all those aspects, they have an upper hand rather going across multiple. The only problem is having with a more decoupled approach. It is not about the functionality, everything is great there, but from a maintenance support point of view in the long term and the community base, it's always a risk. So that's how I see Signavio. And our experience is also like, no, it's very diversified. So some customers wanted to start with the right question saying that, hey, I wanted to understand what my process does. And even the interesting story is that, in large enterprise, okay, because of their, complexity in nature, the process is wise, it's always, never don't ask, don't tell kind of scenarios, right? They don't have all the processes in place where it is interoperable, right? Meaning like I can, traditionally people used to build their processes in Visio, right? Visio is good, it does the job, right? But the only problem is 5 years down the line or 2 years down the line, like what happens if you wanted to, like as long as you have a limited processes, it's okay, no problem, right? But if you're talking about thousands of processes, managing with Visio doesn't really fit the bill, right? Because technically, as a solution wise, we can build it. We can have a SharePoint, have the Visios created, put it in the SharePoint, do our own version management, and move on. But how much pain you can take, right? So that is when we switch to a platform like Signavio, where it offers you the modeling capability at the same time repository as well for collaboration. So that it's a different experience, right? So people have those processes created in much more non-standard format. So and an organization who understands BPM well, they have certain primitive mechanisms implemented, but it is one problem is that it goes outdated some, because as a BPM team, they have more focus on automation rather than cataloging these processes and trying to maintain them. So that is one challenge people wants to when they wanted to see these products, understands the depth of it basically. And as an informed person, they wanted to understand what is on the table right now, right? Without understanding how the organization is functioning, right? You can't bring in, you can't optimize anything which you don't know. So if you wanted to know your unknowns, then you need to have the models created, keep it in handy, that's how any skilled professionals would do. So first to see what's going on, understand the situation, and slowly break it down and see how much we can bring it back to the normalized model. And once that is completed, then the second shift is basically that, mining, right? When do you bring in mining? So you have a problem, business problem, you don't have time to do this modeling work, but you want to jump into the problem statement, do the analysis quick and dirty, and then get that actionable insights and apply the counter mechanism. This is one way to look at it. So there also we have seen, like especially in the account payables, receivables, financial FP&A space and procurement space, there are a lot of opportunities to really help them to, because that is where one of the backend process is so intense, and and large enterprises, there's always a chaos there, right? So process mining combined with automation really help them to see what's going on in real time, and then tag them with automation, to take this respective actions, like three-way reconciliations or cash flow problems that they have. How do we manage them? So those are the places actually we've seen much of an adoption there.
Thanks a lot, really, for sharing so many different points. I mean, I don't even know where to start summarizing, but you really touched on the aspect of the speed or the collaborative part, because just creating some models which then will just be in a PDF and untouched for many years, that doesn't help much either. But also addressing the next steps, going really deep into the processes via process mining to then identify the right use cases to do the automation, because obviously, process which is automated, but which is a bad process, is still a bad process,
Absolutely,
even automated.
Absolutely. Yeah, actually, even one more point of view, right, T. So is that basically when I came to Signavio in 2019, right, the origination. So I did not come looking at Signavio as basically the way I see today, right? I was coming from, I need one problem. I had a problem. The problem is I wanted to, I understand RPA. We implemented solutions. I convinced my business partners to implement. That is my job. Was my job. And when I do so, they're excited. The moment I get their attention, I need to show them the result. So building automation is not a quite. It has its own cup of tea, right? Challenges. But the real problem is feeding in more. Like how do we build the pipeline, right? So how do we spot those automatable opportunities? We tried two approaches. One, basically, we tried the manual approach. We have built in like some quick and dirty transactional systems to orchestrate how people can come into us, and then feed in their problem statements, and we do the evaluations. We had even built a lot of questionnaires, criterias, qualification criterias. But still, we had the same, we become the contention point. We're not able to accelerate. So what I want is basically, I want a tool that can understand and give me a view that which area to go after. So basically in automation theory, right? So the journey, we start with the small, right? We take one specific business function or a couple of those basically, and we take two use cases and then we do a POC. And then once we prove to the business that there is some value in bringing in automation, then we scale up. When we try to do a sustain and scale up, so what happens is more participation will come in. When the more participation comes in, that is where we wanted to accelerate and then quickly resolve. So the manual way of doing stuff is basically, what I found is that if I did a math, it will take 3-4 years for me to finish the whole cycle, just discovery itself. And that is nobody have that much time. Okay. And again, we cannot scale the team also to that level. Then I have to manage. I have operational challenges when I do that. I cannot have an army of team. And even the decentralized option, we had a COE model and centralized model. We also tried to do the federated model. Same problem. Because 70% of automations spend in pre-automation, which is basically the discovery. Only 3% are successful, in all those scenarios. That was my problem statement. I was looking for what tool will really help me to do that.